Can black people come together?
Yeah, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, they can come together if they can get rid of envy, greed, grudge, jealousy. I know if you love our brothers and sisters like their own. You know? Too long the white man been corrupt and manipulate for material gain and interest. So a lot of us get lost. But Marcus Garvey stand for something, we stand for something, so he can't come back. And we have to put it in the new generation to come.
Every time we make an announcement that Jesus is the answer, we need to start asking, what is the question? You cannot just tell me it's an answer when there's no question. And any religion that matures must start questioning itself. It is in questioning yourselves that you begin to grow. In our infancy, when we were young, we believed everything. In maturity, we question everything. The religion that says, give me that old-time religion, is wrong. We're in this trouble because of old-time religion. Let's have commitment, education, but old-time religion cannot work. In conclusion, we needed to start finding for ourselves as Christians, is the miracle something that is external, or is the real miracle what is internal? And I want to challenge you. All other demonstrations can happen externally. Until your heart changes, there's no miracle that is taking place. And many of us want to see apparitional miracles.
Two issues only that I want to outline. The colonial system is alive and well. It took the colonizer 200 years, if not 300 years, to build us where we are. Right now we elect each other into politics, which for me is a playground of infidels and beg carriers and system maintainers. No matter how many cobwebs we clean up in the wall, the spider still sits on the wall to put more cobwebs. I look at the sauna opening. Our own fellow black brothers marching stupid little uniforms with little trumpets and etc. Literally like we're in 1800, the same colonial system, marching to parliament, a small little knob carry, hell knows what it represents, people following a piece of a stick and whatever, and we're out there. That scenario for me tells us that the colonizers themselves are sitting at the back and say, we have put custodians to run the system. So I want to maybe just to step back a little bit, all of us, as a country, not a country, as a country, we need to sit back a little bit and look at this scenario very well, that we put our politicians into place who don't have money of their own, who are trusting on business to sponsor their politics. So let's allow and agree that all politicians are captured, because you can be bought for a price. As long as someone gives you the money, they can run you. The legislative system is appointed by the politicians, another space. Here we are as intermedia, propaganda and etc. Come back to the common sense. Are we really interested in building a South Africa we want to see 400 years from now? Or we are modeling our economy according to America or Britain or Europe or China?
Firstly, let's agree that Christianity is a confused platform. I'll justify why I say that. Christianity gets confusing. Why? Because we tend to baptize things that must not be baptized. Yeah. The concept of Jesus is altogether pagan. Yeah. Because the letter J only appeared 500 years ago. So even Jesus never had that name being called on himself. So firstly, we agree that Christianity, the name is wrong. And then we've accepted it for humility. Now Jesus comes again. Jesus is the youngest of all gods. He is 500 years old. In terms of the name, etymologically speaking. His real name is Yeshua. And in theology, where I went to school to study, I was taught that names you don't translate. Yeah. Jerusalem remains Jerusalem. Are you with me? Judea remains Judea. Samaria remains Samaria. If you go to Israel right now, you cannot look for Peter, Paul, and John. Those names are not there. Those are Roman names. So let's agree.
Because one or the other has to do with the person in connection with the entire universe and nature. Whereas the other one has to do with formalities in a building, tithe offerings, and narrow-minded. And unfortunately for the African child, when we accepted Christianity, we swallowed the plastic plus the bread, instead of maybe taking the content and removing the branding itself. Now Christianity has to do with dressing, with fashion, with music, with literally Eurocentric formalities, which have nothing to do with spirituality and connectivity to the divine other. But it has become actually institutionalized. I'm a Methodist, I'm a Catholic, I'm an Adventist, I'm a Presbyterian, I'm Episcopal. And in the midst of this Christian quagmire, we've built more walls than we've built more bridges. So I think the first problem is that we have accepted Eurocentric colonial methodology of Christianizing us, which has nothing to do with our spiritual expression. And African religions are even better because they seek to deal with the greater emancipation of the African people has started. When Moses was sent to go and liberate his people, and they asked him, when they asked us, who has sent you, what do we say? And the voice came out from the heavens saying, the great I am has sent me. Having arrived at where Pharaoh was, the question was simple. Who amongst you will go to worship your God in the wilderness? Moses says, we must go. Pharaoh, too shrewd and too mean, he answers. No, let only the men go and worship your God in the wilderness. To which Moses answered back and he said, if we are to go and worship our God in the wilderness, our men will go, our women will go, our children will go, ultimately even our cattle will go. What are we talking about? The greater emancipation of the African people cannot just be one-sided form of liberation. We need a total liberation of our people. Our men will go. I'm just sitting around here and this idea just flashes through my mind. Sometimes it's difficult to have a brain that does not go to sleep. And I'm thinking that the human body is actually interesting. We started off all as liquid, semen, water, liquid. Then stayed 9 months in our mother's womb again as water, in water. Then we come out from water and then we become physical, which is flesh and dust. Then when we die, I'm just thinking, how about thinking that we actually become spirit? Therefore, the three forms of our creation becomes the three lives in which we must live in. The life in the water, the life in the flesh, and the life in the spirit. Give me your thoughts about that.
Governance of Africans start educating the African person about himself. Can't waste our time in schools memorizing William Shakespeare. If music be the food of love, play on, give me excess of it. That surfeiting, that might sicken my appetite and so die. No wonder we are so sick. We are sickened by this kind of education. Romeos and Juliets and all those stories that are a plagiaristic activity stolen from the fellow black people. I would say to all of us, it is critical and it is important that in the midst of our knowledge, our information becomes selfish. Let us teach Africans.
Is now being deemed as evil. Everything that is white is being deemed as righteous. I want to challenge you as an African person. Look back at where we are coming from. We have stuff that we can contribute towards the civilization of this continent. And the time of the white party has now long expired. Africa, arise. I challenge you. Let's look back at where we are coming from. We can see clearly where we are going. For the solutions to the future are sometimes embedded in the past in which we are running away from. We do white weddings. Do white people do black weddings?
Mr. Maponga, why do we need pastors in churches?
We need pastors in churches for a very simple reason, that we are no longer in the business of producing spiritual people. We are producing mechanical people. And because we are producing people who constantly depend on their pastors for food, for spiritual nourishment, for education and training, we need pastors so that they can maintain a white colonialized mentality and ideology. But ultimately what it simply means is that as long as we have pastors, members are not independent to practice spirituality. But if you can speak to God directly, do you still need a pastor? The answer is no. So why do we need pastors? Because they are able to block us from having access to the God that we want to talk to.
According to Revelation chapter 4 and 5, the question is, who will open the book? Why did John cry?
Who will open the book? The question has to do with finding out who has power, who has access, who has authority, who is entitled to opening the book. And in this book, of course, you'll understand, according to chapter 1, 2, and 3, that it is only coming at the closing of the 6th and the 7th seal. Since the seals are now being closed, John wants to find out what is the closure of the human history.
The opening of this last seal and the opening of the book has to do with the person who is responsible and in charge of earth and human history. And then we hear...
Firstly, maybe we need to be very clear that we don't allow our spirituality, our way of existence to be defined by Eurocentric terminology, where you're basically looking at African culture through white glasses. African spirituality must not be looked in the same frame of religion. African spirituality has to do with the total lifestyle. When you're talking about being a European, for example, it's your Valentine's, it's your Halloweens, it's your birthday. What constitutes a Jew? It's your Shabbats, it's your Hanukkahs, it's your Passovers, and all of a sudden come to Africans. We're the only group of people on the face of the continent whose lifestyle must be determined by our colonizers, and our independence seemed to give us a small little leave from ourselves to become like the other, and once in a while then they give us a holiday of when to celebrate ourselves. And I think that's quite an abusive way of looking at how democratization, industrialization, communism, capitalism, neo-colonialism, neo-imperialism, name all the isms you can mention, how they've come actually to rape and force the African child to become that which is not like himself.
Let me tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you this. I know many of us are uncomfortable right now. And that's what the gospel should do. It should cause discomfort for the comfortable and bring comfort for those who are discomforted. You see, this is why they wanted to kill Jesus. Because what he was preaching was agitating. You see, let me tell you this about Christianity. When they introduced colonial Christianity in South Africa, after the land dispositions, they gave us Christianity and education for two reasons. To subdue the black man, so that we continue to be slaves of the white man.
I mean, I've done the church work for a long time, for the longest part of my life, and I just feel like church is becoming too slack and comfortable on miracles and doing some sort of rubbish around that space, whereas the social issues are more pressing. So I would like to see a movement next year where we can actually get rid of a few churches and convert them into industries. There's no business in you buying a factory out and then members come inside and they're praying for employment. Something is surely wrong in terms of your software. Just take it back to factory and everyone can be employed.